Hey everyone, Attorney Davis Younts here. Listen, I wanted to take a few minutes and talk about the mayoral election in New York. And you might say, okay, I don't live in New York. I don't even live in the state of New York, let alone the city. Why do I care about this election? This election is critically important because it shows and it's part of a larger trend. Zoran Mardami is someone who, in my opinion, could be defined as an Islamist, or maybe even more appropriately, an Islamunist. And before you think that's a made up word, please understand what I'm talking about. This is a candidate for office in the largest city in the United States, a bellwether city for our country, who is both a communist and someone who is heavily, heavily influenced by and spends a lot of time talking about being Islamic, being a Muslim. Now, here's the concern. The concern is when we talk about someone who is a Muslim and who brings their Islamic faith into their political candidacy, we have to ask questions about whether or not their belief system, their set of beliefs, is consistent with our Constitution, with the way our nation was founded, and just the way our laws and principles work. And I'll submit to you, my opinion is Sharia law has nothing in common. Sharia law has nothing in common with the biblical principles that our nation was founded on. And it's in direct opposition to our Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, and just our system of laws, even English common law. Sharia law is opposed to that. So if he really is someone who's going to be heavily influenced by that and bring Sharia law and these concepts to New York City, that's in direct contradiction to who we are as a nation. That's a huge problem. Even more dangerous with Zoran Mardami is the fact that he, in my opinion, is a communist. He is someone who is advocating for things that are based on communist principles. He's advocating for things like free bus fare, for government-run grocery stores. Now, these are just two examples of things he's talking about. We could talk about rent controls and other things, but let's just talk about these two things. First of all, they don't work. There's no such thing as a free lunch. There's no such thing as free food. There's no such thing as a free bus ride or a free bus ticket. Someone is paying for it. He's going to be paying for it by increasing taxes. Did you know if you're in the higher income brackets in New York, you can expect to be paying 50% of your income in taxes back to the city? That's just back to the city. He is talking about imposing a 52% tax rate for people living in New York. So when you combine that those increasing taxes are going to result in people that can absolutely fleeing and leaving the city. That's people, that's businesses, that's property owners, that's landlords. And then he wants to bring in these two concepts. So let's start with these grocery stores, these city-run, state-run grocery stores, just like what happened in the Soviet Union. They fail. Everywhere they've been tried in the United States, anywhere all over the world, they fail. They end up being such a drain on resources and money. They end up having shortages. They end up having food there that no one wants. And so rather than creating a system where there is support for lower income communities, you're actually competing with the existing businesses. You're actually competing with the existing grocery stores with state funds. And every time they failed, they've turned into absolute dumpster fires, no food on the shelves, rising costs, hard to get people to work there. Theft is a problem. So those things have never worked. And then you have this idea of free bus fare. Now, again, there's so many problems with this. Someone's paying for it. There's no such thing as a free ride on a bus. But the other problem is, and cities that have tried this have seen this, what you're going to see is homeless people and vagrants who are going to be essentially living on these buses. So New York City buses are not in great shape as it is now. It's not always pleasant to use them and ride them if you visited the city. It's doable, but it's not great. But one of the things that's keeping people who are vagrants or homeless off of the buses and preventing them from just riding around on the buses all the time to get warm, to get cool, or just use it as a makeshift home is the fact that you have to pay a fare. They have to pay money to get on the buses. When you take that barrier out, you're going to see an increasing level of vagrancy and homeless people on these buses. As a result, you're actually going to see the quality of bus fare, of bus rides go down, and you're going to see the quality of life for the people that depend on buses to get around to the city, to get to work, actually go down. So big picture, why does this matter? What do communism and Islamism, or Islamist political ideas have in common? Well, they are both based on religions that lead to tyranny. They don't lead to flourishing. They don't, and they're not consistent with God's created order. So when we talk about Islamism or Islam as applied to political philosophy, we're talking about Sharia law. It's obvious that leads to suffering, that leads to tyranny, that leads to oppression. Don't believe the lies. There's no such thing as a Christian flourishing in a Muslim country. Does not happen. That's been a false narrative, in my opinion. That needs to be addressed and understood by people, because Sharia law is not consistent with the United States, and it will be a curse on this nation if we bring in Sharia law. The other thing is communism. Communism is a result of the religion of secular humanism. Secular humanism essentially worships man. When you worship man, it always leads to tyranny. Look at the Soviet Union, look at China, look at any place in the world where communism has been tried, and you could trace it back to this idea that we eliminate God, we try to bring about a humanistic, man-focused, man-centered utopia. In large parts, it's based on the ideas of Darwinian evolution. And so that's what it leads to. So I don't know what's going to happen this mayoral race. It appears, unless there's some sort of a miracle, that arguably the most important city in the United States, our city that people know and understand, the Big Apple, a city I have enjoyed visiting since Rudy Giuliani cleaned it up. New York is on the verge of falling victim to not just concerns with the implementation of Sharia law and someone who's being influenced by that, but also by someone who is, again, my opinion here, an avowed communist who wants to bring in not just communist progressive principles, and that's bad, but every single time these things have been tried, they have failed. So if he wins, again, I think it's going to take a miracle for him not to win, but if he wins, New York is on the verge of becoming an example of what happens if we allow those influenced heavily in their politics by Sharia law, as well as communism. It's going to turn New York into a total and absolute dump. And that's a sad thing. And the concern is that's one of our most important cities, one of our largest cities. It's a financial center. You're going to have even more population flight out of New York. And it's going to be a wake-up call, I hope, for our nation, so that we return to biblical principles, we return to the ideas of our founding, and we don't give way to these tyrannical principles that are going to destroy our nation. Hey, listen, thank you for watching this. Comment, ask me questions. If you want me to comment on any other elections that are going on in Virginia or New Jersey, just let me know. We'll try to get to that this week. As always, please follow us on YouTube as well as on X. Just Davis Younts on X. Thanks. Take care.